Ladies and gentlemen, the globalists have been beta testing how to collapse nations using other countries that are collapsing that border them. And if you study communist theory, they actually have a program where they go in like dominoes, bring down a country, loot its wealth, transfer it to the multinational communist combine that's always run by big banks. It's the big rich guys that run it. On record. Declassified. The Venona secrets, all of it. The globalists were running Russia for 80-something years as a colony to suck dry and use for their worldwide evil, and then to exploit neighboring nations and overthrow them, like China. This is an exploitation phase. And they are making their move to collapse the third world like dominoes into the United States, to collapse the Middle East and Africa into Europe. And it's admitted. But everything previous to this has been on the low scale. They're making their worldwide move and admitting it. Mexico just elected a socialist/communist who is in the vein of Hugo Chavez and believes in nationalizing everything. But then they let the management be run by multinational corporations that will loot it. Now, Carlos Slim, who's very unpopular in Mexico, manipulated things by claiming he was against the socialists. But it turns out, even Reuters reports, he stands to gain the most from this man's election. Billionaire Slim could profit from election of Mexican leftists. There's Reuters. Well, he's been elected. And just like the big multinationals worked with Hugo Chavez to suck Venezuela dry, they're about to do it to Mexico even worse. Does that mean there aren't corrupt elites there? Does it not mean there's not warlords and all the problems? Absolutely. Did Mexico ever get out from under colonialism? No. Does it have a feudalist system? Yes. But now, ladies and gentlemen, all the people being told they're going to get a bunch of freebies. It's not going to be the big multinational corporations and the billionaires that pay. It's going to be the tiny middle class. And Mexico is about to have it destroyed. And the news even admits that George Soros is involved. Of course he is. And so it begins. We know every time a socialist is put in, they then become a communist. And we know what's happened in Latin America. Everywhere this has been put in, it is a nightmare scenario. But if you go back to the creation of the Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital by Karl Marx and Frederick Engels and the rest of them, British intelligence didn't know how to get all the serfs that were being freed off the land in Russia and in Europe and other areas because Christians were demanding that slavery be ended. And so the white peons in Europe, that just means a serf in Spanish, just the little farmer, they were being freed off the land. The Industrial Revolution was happening. And so they concocted this whole system to create a classless system. And they concocted this whole operation so that they would get all the serfs that were coming off the land to go back into a communal system. Communism. And, of course, it created consolidated wealth, created nightmare wars, created hundreds of millions killed or starved to death. We know the history of communism. We know who runs it, what it's designed for, and where it leads us. And now we know that the UN is trying to collapse our borders and collapse Europe's borders, and also trying to put socialists and communists in, Muslim nations or radical Islamicists. This is the plan. They've elected a guy that says, it is your job to invade El Norte. It is your job as migrants of the world to go anywhere you want, but he's not going to open the border up for people to come up from Central America. No. He's only going to open up the corridors, as Mexico's already done, to allow people to stay on the railways, and that's it. You deviate, you're beaten, you're shot, you're killed, you're put in prison. None of those folks are humanized. And I feel sorry for them. Fleeing, collapsing communism, fleeing, collapsing socialism in more than half of the nations. They are fleeing those nations in Central and South America and then destabilizing the nations they're going into, like Chile and other areas. And it, like dominoes falling towards the north, collapse, 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 collapse. Now the last domino, collapse into Mexico. The last domino in Latin America, and then boom. The giant Latin American population brought in to waiting arms at public schools and colleges and media and Netflix, promoting communism and socialism and race consciousness and La Reconquista and liberation theology, all primed and ready to be prepared for their piece of the pie, which is killing the pie, which is slicing up America, which is killing the golden goose that lays the golden eggs. The diabolical nature of this is unprecedented, and it is an admitted UN global government plan, now collapsing Latin America, now collapsing into Europe. And the EU announces a partnership, it was in Reuters last Friday, to invade countries, to use a new military to stop Italy from stopping the Zodiac boats and the ships coming in every day to Italy, dumping off North Africans, Islamicists. And the UN is to establish emergency centers and bring UN forces in to Spain and into France and into other areas, Sweden. They bring in 10 million plus in the last few years. It collapses city centers. Oh my God, don't worry, the UN is here. UN announces plan to establish emergency centers in major European cities. Boom! Now you've got the UN stronghold. Now they bring in even more. Now they weaponize those people. Then they hold you hostage. It was a Reuters headline. It was Friday. You could type it in. The headline was UN announces plan to establish migrant emergency centers in Europe. And then it says that the EU is inviting them in to then suppress the nation states that are trying to struggle free from it. So the attack from the third world and the attack from above the big global banks. There it is. UN to present plan for Mediterranean migrant centers for the EU in the EU. France says they want them inside their country. Italy says no. Wow. They say, no, you help the collapsing third world by staying in North Africa and building infrastructure there. You don't bring the crisis where 90% never get a job and 80% are military-age men. You understand, this is happening. This isn't a drill. This is the New World Order. This is world government. And Trump is there with patriots in our government that are left trying to hold back. And he's on the phone trying to get Theresa May on board. She won't do it. She's a traitor. He's on the phone with the Hungarian and the Polish and the Romanian presidents that 1,000% get it because they've been invaded hundreds of times. And they are holding the line in a total emergency with a new wave coming in that's twice the size of the last wave. Austria now is in an emergency and elected patriots and is building emergency walls and massing troops on their border. We are wide open. This is a planned takeover. I'm getting chills right now. I am. Incredible chills. I mean, I cannot express to you enough. This is World War IV. They're launching on every front. Antifa, terrorists, Islamicist groups working with them, all of it. They're gearing up, they're building up for the chaos to bring in the big attack, to sink and dynamite the engine of free market, and then the whole world will slide into a giant depopulation nightmare program. And if you think Trump's fascist, they plan after a decade of world hell to bring in a true fascist world government, you'll wish for Trump. Trump is the desperate attempt to stop this and to have a future for people.
We are drugged out. We are following other people's opinions. We are controlled by the media. Today, it all changes. This reality has been forced upon us. It is a choice, just like when I said slavery is a choice. Einstein says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result. So we keep on saying, I hate you, f you, f you. How are we gonna get a different result out of hate? Why don't we just try love? Why don't we just try love? We have the resources for a peaceful world. You know, sometimes you need some crazy motherfuckers to change something. Steve Jobs is crazy. Now we all on Steve Jobs' phones. They say Trump's crazy. They say I'm crazy. But I'm here to show love. It's a bigger plan, and I'm just doing what the universe told me.
Resistance to tyrants is obedience to God. It's Alex Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, the globalists have been beta testing how to collapse nations using other countries that are collapsing that border them. And if you study communist theory, they actually have a program where they go in like dominoes, bring down a country, loot its wealth, transfer it to the multinational communist combine that's always run by big banks. It's the big rich guys that run it. On record. Declassified. The Venona secrets, all of it. The globalists were running Russia for 80-something years as a colony to suck dry and use for their worldwide evil, and then to exploit neighboring nations and overthrow them, like China. This is an exploitation phase. And they are making their move to collapse the third world like dominoes into the United States, to collapse the Middle East and Africa into Europe. And it's admitted. But everything previous to this has been on the low scale. They're making their worldwide move and admitting it, and admitting they're going to get world government out of collapsing third world populations, giant migrant waves, biological emergencies, biological weapons releases, superbugs, and regional conflicts. This is World War IV. The Cold War was World War III in the CIA's own admissions, and it's here. It's now. And the cherry on top is they will elect socialist or Islamicist at every key point on the map as the final domino falls into the West. And Mexico just elected a socialist/communist that has called for migrants of the world to invade the United States, and that no one has a right to borders. Now you think about that. He's going to implode Mexico. He's going to suck it dry. And George Soros and Carlos Slim are on record set to make the money. You're like, wait, Carlos Slim has criticized the new Mexican president before he was elected. That's all for public consumption. Because Carlos Slim is hated in Mexico because he's exploited people. And so they're not going to replace the Mexican elite. They're not going to replace the corrupt forces in Mexico. It's going to get worse. And the people of Mexico are about to get squeezed real hard. And it's a real shame. So I've laid out the fact that they're making their big move. Everything else has been a test. Kind of like, oh, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? That's a military tactic. And then finally, bam, when you get the big uppercut, the big right uppercut, you never know what hit you when your jaw breaks and your teeth clatter together and shatter. You never know what hit you. Because it's socialism, communism, Antifa, demonstrations, and then boom, it hits. The Antifa are the professors training for violence and murder. The Antifa are the George Soros-funded groups on record. And you look at Portland, even local news admitted, oh, the police called it a riot after Antifa threw fireworks and bottles and bricks and knives at the Patriots prayer vigil that was there. They had a prayer vigil, and then some folks came out that wanted to stand up against Antifa. And all of this is just part of the probing. Now, that all ties in to the globalist uncloaking, that they've been building their socialist systems. They've been building their candidates. They've been preparing their people. They've had the Hollywood and the media hyping it all. And now they're beginning to roll it out. Oh, in New York, she wins the primary. Alexandra Cortez, whose platform is communist, not socialist. But whether you're Hugo Chavez or whether you're the new president in Mexico who calls himself a Chavez, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, if I pronounced that right, he calls himself a democratic socialist too, just like Bernie Sanders did. Oh, but once they get control, they're not. Then the red shirts come out, the red flags come out, and you go and get ready to have your business taken, and they're going to make you stay at your business and run it while you hire all their little buddies in there. And then, of course, you just give it benign neglect and stop really caring, and everything falls apart. And that's how it works. But the globalists don't care because they're getting your water, and they're getting your timber, and they're getting your gold, they're getting your bauxite, they're getting your silver, they're getting your rare earth minerals, they're getting your population's labor, they're getting your telecommunications, they're getting your real estate, they're getting your infrastructure. And this is how it always works. After 5, 10, 15, 20 years of communism, first starting out as socialism, democratic socialism, socialism, communism, then the CIA will fund a right-wing overthrow, and all the land will be pennies on the dollar, and the people will be so thankful, and things will turn around right away, but it'll be even more consolidated. And so you'll never get to own anything because you weren't part of the multinationals that came in after. Cuba's sin is that it went total communist and never let anybody in, so the globalists are mad. But China is different. Oh, after 20 years of Mao killing about 1/3 of the population and training them to behave properly, all investment went there. And that's the plan. They're not communists, they're authoritarian, they're fascists, they're dehumanizing, they're monsters. Now that said, the Democrats have launched their new Third World War. But they technically call it the Fourth World War. And the Democrats in our country are just players in this larger picture. And so I said yesterday, I predict increasing riots, unrest, terror attacks on or about July 4th, going right through the summer, into Mueller putting out his fake report, in the fall, 25th Amendment move to take out Trump, and today it's all over the news. They're planning uprisings, terror attacks everywhere because you can see them building. You can feel the energy. You can see the hate. You can see it expanding. Radical Islam allied with the Soros-funded left and this whole international combine. And Soros is just a front man. Bill Gates is in there, all of them. When we come back, man accused of planning July 4th terror attack in Cleveland. Headline should be Islamists arrested, reportedly, planning this. But it's all coming up just like I told you. Now, that said, we're going to beat this wave. And thank God we've got Trump in there. But the globalists are getting ready to make their moves all over the world. And that's why, thank God, people are waking up because the time is so incredibly critical. Now, all of that said, we need your financial support. We're not communists. We're not globalists. We're not mega bankers funded by, you know, some $1 trillion combine like every other communist nightmare is. We're promoting Americana, success, free market, family, real freedom. That's why we're under attack. Because what we're promoting works. It's proven to work. And in a year and a half, it's turning around already. But we, as the tip of the spear, and InfoWars are under mega attack. That's why I'm asking you this July 4th, this critical July 4th when the enemy is going to step it up and really come after us, this crossroads, to commit, to get great products and help yourself and your family and fund the InfoWar, a total 360 win. So please, take advantage of the Second American Revolution 4th of July super sale at InfoWarsStore.com. 50% off and free shipping on dozens of best-selling items and so much more. We'll be right back on the other side to get into the Islamist terror attack that was reportedly foiled in Cleveland and the police press conference. Stay with us. Extendowise, the latest product from InfoWarsLife.com, fuses all the known compounds that have been proven to be good for our hearts and cardiovascular system. And listen, everybody's got a heart. Well, actually, maybe Hillary and George Soros don't, but everybody else has a heart, and this product is amazing. So if you have a heart and you want the very best product out there that's designed to aid a healthy heart and cardiovascular system, it's Extendowise, available at InfoWarsLife.com. And like all of our products are game changers, this baby is the most souped up, awesome version the top formulators can come up with and still be affordable. It's one of the very best heart pills out there. It's Extended-Wise. So get some for yourself and family and friends. It's got the very best fish oil from the fjords. It's very, very pure, very, very clean, and has the EPA type that is specifically good for the heart, cardiovascular system. It's got the properly formulated type of CoQ10 and more. It is Extended-Wise, now available at InfoWarsLife.com.